Hey guys, Shahan here, and welcome to Hattingen, and what is essentially my first video on this channel. We are at round 9 of 10 of the Kartmasters season, with this being the Friday practice session the day before the actual race. It is my first time at this track, so I'm especially stoked to go out now. As you will probably see later, the track is very tight, has little to no overtaking opportunity, and with very little straights there are literally no opportunities to take a breath for a moment. So it's gonna be very physical and intense, and especially very important to keep up the focus over the duration of the entire race. I'm taking part in the midweight class, which means 90 kg minimum weight. I achieved this by adding some additional weight into the side of my kart. But let's head out on track and actually look at a full lap. So right before the start finish straight you have this right kink. Coming onto it, you have a very long braking section into a tight left and right corner. Here you sacrifice the first turn to make the second one in the exit much better for this short straight, into another right and left combination that you follow through in this sweeping left and then right turn, just a little lift, and coming onto this short straight another right hairpin, just a little tap on the brake into this double left and then another left hairpin. This is followed by a right hairpin, where it's very easy to get massive oversteer and lose a lot of time. Now this left one you want to take as wide as possible to have a clean drive through to the right, and then back onto the right kink for the start finish straight. And there you have it, a full lap of Hattingen circuit. Now even though I qualified P8 for my first stint, we won't see much of that because I messed up my camera angle. Anyway, I finished the heat in P10, and you might be wondering how I ended up losing 2 places at a track where you can't really be overtaken. Well, see for yourself. Never mind, let's forget about Heat 1 and just get into qualifying for Heat 2. Focus on this now and try to forget what happened before. Now in Kartmasters we do a 1-lap shootout, which means you have 1 out lap and then 1 qualifying lap. Therefore, you try to make your qualifying lap as clean as possible and avoid major risks by overdriving the kart. Now, heading into the first qualifying lap, you see that in turn 1 we tried to take a clean approach, but end up having to counter a massive oversteer. So we lost all the momentum for the short straight and basically lost all the time that we needed. Which meant that whatever we do now, it's basically very difficult to get in a good position. Which is why I was already prepared to start from the back. And in order to avoid any more time lost, I tried to finish the lap as clean as possible, try to take the corner smooth and not lose too much time. Coming over the start-finish straight, I see that I'm about to start in P11. So I drive up ahead and take up my place in the grid. Instead of doing a full formation lap, we line up at the last sector and then start the last couple of turns as a formation sector. Unfortunately, I messed up the start and lost a lot of time to the guy ahead, but thankfully I was able to gain that back under braking into the first turn. Now being extremely close on the rear bumper of my co-driver, I was trying to stick with him and not make too many mistakes, just go with the pack and hope for a mistake, trying to force him into maybe outbraking himself into one of the turns. But as you will see, I was not able to pick up the pace and follow him, which gave him the opportunity to build up a gap. Even though I tried my best to follow, I ended up making multiple mistakes under braking or actually touching the barrier in the exit of the turn. So I decided to try an undercut, which means that I will go to the pit stop now and try to make up more time with a clean track ahead of me. So the pit stop procedure is actually pretty easy. You just press the button and wait for the light to turn green. Only then you're allowed to cross the black line on the floor. Just a small look to the right to see if there's anyone coming behind me to avoid any collision and getting into a penalty situation. So I was able to do a few laps on a clean track, but shortly after these guys showed up in front of me and low-key irritated me, which meant that I ended up finishing in the same place I started, P11. but I knew I had the pace, so I was confident for the remaining 2 stints. And here you see the additional weight that I have to take with me in the side pocket of the kart. I tried to change it up in the next stint and let my friend JB pass. I did this to first of all not block his way, but also to take him as a reference and hope to achieve a better lap time. Heading on to start-finish straight again, I take a more cautious entry into turn 1, trying not to overcook it. Get an okayed exit into the short straight. As you will see, the following corners were not that good, having some oversteer on the left turn and then this way losing momentum. Into the kink I was a little slow, I could have gone around there a little faster I think. Good exit through the 2 left-handers and also clean through the left hairpin. Going through the right hairpin also very cleanly, take a good line through the left and the right turn, and going back into the start-finish straight. I knew my lap time was better, but I still lost a lot of time at some corners, so I knew I could do better. Overall, this managed to land me P10. Now, I messed up the rhythm at the start again, and I ended up having a bigger gap to the guy ahead of me. Definitely need to train the starting procedure better. But thankfully I was able to close the gap into the turn 1 again, almost going side to side with the guy ahead of me. He squeezed me into the corner a little bit and I tried to go for a massive dive bomb, which didn't work very well, so I gave up the position again. At this point I was really glued to his rear bumper, almost touching him every single turn. He gets a rather bad exit with some oversteer out of the second to last turn, but me too, unfortunately. I think I could have gotten a better exit and then maybe went for a move into the first turn. Later on he was able to build up a small gap, so I decided to go into the pits and try to undercut him. Screaming tires under braking while I tried to push the button to be able to get as much of a time as possible under the pit stop and make it as fast of a procedure as I can. Heading back out onto the track, I had a clear track ahead of me with a lot of opportunity to gain some time on my own. The focus was to get in some clean laps and be very consistent to manage to close up the gap to the guy ahead of me and hopefully overtake him by the time that he goes into the pits to do his mandatory pit stop. As you can see, this unfortunately didn't work out and I ended up behind him again, almost at the same position without gaining that much of a time, so he was trying to push through as it seems. Now, only a few laps later I was back onto his bumper again, but because the track is so tight, I literally had no opportunity to overtake. He also did a great job in defending. I was really trying to experiment and see if a different line would maybe make me faster and gain more time towards him, trying all I can to get up closer behind him. However, this wasn't enough and P10 was everything I could do. Coming up is Heat 4, the final race of the day. In Kartmasters you have around 9 to 10 heats in total, but each driver gets to drive 4 of them individually. Going into my qualifying lap again, I ended up overcooking turn 1 as per usual now. Ended up having a little oversteer and then losing a lot of momentum to the short straight. This meant that I would start the final race in P12, not where I was aiming to go. However, this time I was able to stay much closer to the guy ahead of me, not losing that much time into the starting procedure. However, this would mean nothing as carnage unfolded. The pack ahead of me was battling intense. and in this left hairpin I was seeking an opportunity to overtake, which I also managed to execute. But I had literally no time to celebrate my overtake since this happened. Being back into P12, I had a lot to make up for again. I decided to stay out while the guy ahead of me went for a pit stop, trying to overcut this time and see if it works. Going for the pit stop as late as possible was my strategy this time. With a nice pace and on a clean track, I was actually able to get in some good lap times and overcut the guy ahead of me. This means that by the time I crossed the checkered flag, I managed to end up in P11. Definitely not the best race, but at least I was able to gain one position. And this wraps up my day in Hattingen. Definitely a lot to learn for next time. If you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe onto this channel. Thank you so much for watching, have a good one and see you next time.